Hey, Wendy, this is Devante from Veteran Home Realty. It was good speaking with you tonight. I am going to go ahead and show you how I facilitate deals. And first off, I would just like to congratulate you and thank you for taking the time out to go ahead and be interested in what I have to offer. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first off, I start with a website called Rental Meter. And this is what a lot of my mentors, partners, and other fellow investors and real estate people in general use. Rental Meter is used by Wall Street Journal, CNN Money, Fox Business, US News. And yeah. Okay, and what it pretty much does is pretty much goes ahead and uh, lets you know what the rent base is going to be in your surrounding area. So let's go ahead and give this about a good 20 seconds to load. Okay, so what do we have here? So we have property, and pretty much what happens is we get the bedrooms that you have in your property, which we'll bring it up right here. That was one of the properties I'm looking at right here. Okay, so we will go into Google. Put in your property right here. There it is in Zillow, 1742 Perside Circle, Wellington Way. And then what we do is we go ahead and get the number of bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Now it says 15 bedrooms that have 15 4-bedroom rentals within a mile radius of 2,578, a median of 2,350. And this is the the price range of 80% and 60% of 15 4-bedroom rentals within a mile radius. So when you said you wanted $2,500 a month for rent, you're pretty well spot on, because the average price range for rentals for 4 bedrooms is 2,578. So we could probably bump it up $78 more, and you could be commanding the average rental amount within that. So, let's go ahead and go to the option agreement. So I just wanted to show you, one deal that I just did recently. So this is the one I did 2 days ago. And we are getting the process moving with that, just getting the attorney to clarify some paperwork. So let me explain the option to purchase real property agreement, and I'll give you an example, and I'll refill in your property as I'm reading out this. So this option agreement is entered in between parties, sellers, and buyers below in consideration of and subject to following terms and conditions. Parties, Devante Merricky / Veteran Home Realty, and or assigns buyer, and which would be your name, Wendy, as seller. Property address. This is just an example. Northwest 41st Street, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Offer, buyer has the option to buy property at $570,000. So period, they give me 30 days to find a buyer. and the down payment 28,500, and that was pretty much 5% of this purchase price. And the same way that I found your monthly rent was how I found this person's monthly rent. So, like I said, how I make money is I essentially, whatever your bottom dollar for a down payment is what I strive to give you. So if it's 5%, 10%, that is what, I like to start out at. And if we are able to get more from the buyer, then it can definitely increase. So provisions. Seller understands that buyer's intention is to find an end buyer and assign this option agreement to that end buyer for a fee. So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm getting, a price from you. I'm getting your bottom dollar, and say this was you for an example. 28,500. And let's say I was able to find a buyer, for 38,500. Essentially, my fee would be 10,000. Minus marketing cost, overhead, and all that good stuff. But essentially, I'm getting the price from you, your bottom dollar, and whatever a buyer is willing to pay. So that is the essential of what an assignment is. So I'm getting the terms and agreement from you, and I'm bringing it to another buyer. Seller understands that buyer is acting as a principal in the transaction, is not working as a licensed real estate broker representing anyone in the transaction. Upon buyer's decision to exercise this option, both parties agree to move forward with the necessary purchase and sales agreement. Seller may cancel this agreement at any time if they find their own buyer with an executed contract before the option is exercised. Seller agrees to allow buyer to put sign in the yard advertising the property for sale. Now, I tell sellers all the time, if you have your own sign in your yard, go ahead and keep it there. If you would, I'm probably pretty sure you already have a sign in your yard for sale by owner. So, it's not a requirement, and you can actually, if you have Microsoft Word or anything like that, you can actually do one of these right here and do that. Oh, look what I just did, Wendy. Strike through. Isn't that nice? So if buyer does not acquire an end buyer to assign this deal within 30 days of acceptance of this option agreement, this agreement is null and void. So essentially, if I can't find a buyer within 30 days, I don't belong in real estate. I should probably just wear and just cry and die, because just with with today's market, if you have the right house, it should definitely be able to sell. All properties agree that property is being sold in as is condition unless noted otherwise. Now, the power of a lease purchase is that it doesn't need any financing contingencies and stuff like that for someone to move in, put a down payment. So if you have any repairs that need to be done at the property, it's as is condition. So ultimately the buyer is responsible for anything that is in the property that needs fixing up as soon as they move in. And this is, like I said, this is an agreement with the woman that I had set up the agreement with. So an agreement can be made up to 5 years or more on a lease purchase. Agreement subject to change in interest rate, down payment, monthly rent, and years on term. Now, with the agreement subject to change, pretty much, like I said, is that this is really just an example. Like I said, when this is just to kind of get the ball rolling with the attorney. So I say it's subject to change, and interest rate, down payment, monthly rent, and years on term is because let's say you only want to do 2 to 3 years, but let's say that I have a buyer that wants to put down $80,000 and they want to do complete owner finance, and they'll do like $3,500 a month. well, then maybe we need to add, a couple more years, maybe 10 years, to, and, you'd be cash flowing great. So, things change all the time. Like you had mentioned, it, you know, you have to account for variable change, and things change all the time. So I like to be able to take this agreement and say, hey, any of this can change at any time. Nothing is set in stone. And like I said, the attorney will draft up the official paperwork. So this is just kind of get the ball rolling, and it can change at any time that you feel. So this is the real meat and potatoes, like you had said, uh, in the lease purchase. Buyer must, at full ability, obtain financing at the end of term. Always add something like, you know, no, or buyer must exhaust all funding ah, resources for property to be purchased. You know, you could even write buyer must fulfill. Yeah, it's acting a little funny because, you know, it just acts funny. Buyer must fulfill all obligations to repairing credit. See, I told you it just acts a little funny. So all obligations to repair credit. So, I always, like I said, this is just really just an option agreement. When the lease purchase gets drafted, there's a lot more clause in it, for more security. But those are just things I like to add within the option agreement. You know, and buyer must handle all repairs and maintenance on property. Buyer must provide a non-refundable down payment. So it is kind of like the option where they're providing a non-refundable option deposit. But you know, um, at the end of the day, with the lease option or lease to own or rent to buy or rent to own, whatever terminology you want to call it, is that this person has the first right of refusal. So they are the first ones that can buy the property, and they have the right to be like, okay, I don't want to buy the property, I want to move to California. And a lot of the sellers that I deal with is that you're looking to sell property. Yes, it can be good, the cash flow, but you generally want to be done. So with this strategy and this system that I have in place, I provide those clauses that you're able to pretty much deal with a buyer that is willing to pretty much, either, buy your property outright, after it's done being purchased from the bank, or they're willing to buy the property, live and die in it. Ultimately, you have a buyer who has their heart set on the property, and that's what I strive to do because, um, why deal with somebody that's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out is what I say. You know, so I will go ahead and structure, this contract, this agreement to your property. This is just a little example of how I do things. So you saw how I found the monthly rent, and you saw how I structure other deals as well. And when we meet with the attorney, you'll be able to see that more concrete. So that's the buyer right there. That's the date. and your name would go here, here, and then the date, and then that's pretty much it. So I look forward to seeing you on the next video.